Hi, everybody. My name's Laura Byrne. For the local folks here joining us, I'm a longtime Essex County, New Jersey resident. I just recently moved back to Montclair from a 3-year stint in Philadelphia. But before that, I lived here in Essex County for 23 years. So yeah, happy to be back here and presenting with WordPress Montclair, and can't wait to actually meet some of you in person now that we're back. I'm holed up in my apartment like the rest of you are at the moment. So can't wait to be live and actually get to meet some of the people I'm going to be chatting with today. I do want to say that I will release all my slides. I'll send the link to Michael or Cam or Jason, whoever needs it. So don't worry about taking furious notes. I will happily give you all access to my slides, and the slides themselves have lots of links in them to the resources that I'm going to be talking about. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I got to write a million miles a minute. Don't worry, happy to give you everything. So with that said, let's get rolling. As I said, my name is Laura Byrne. I have been a WordPress user since 2006. So I think that makes me a super early adopter. I think WordPress in of itself was only founded about 18 months before I started using it. So yeah, I have been at it a really long time. And I've written content since then for well over 100 WordPress sites. I am in the WordPress editor every day, and that has literally been my life since 2006. Two of the sites that I wrote for on a very regular basis were some highly viral sites with well over 500K unique global visitors per day visiting those sites. So I know what it is to be under the gun, to create accurate content quickly, have it be accurate, because at the end of the day, that new content going up was quite literally the bread and butter, the bank, the what was going to make your ad traffic roll that day. So yeah, I get it, what it means to be a content creator and have all the tools at your disposal. The other thing I would just mention as I'm going along and doing this, I know just enough HTML and CSS to be dangerous. I am very much a content creator. So if you do have a technical question, I can probably handle it just to a certain level, but after that, I may have to pass that off to any of the other folks from the meetup, because that's not really my total wheelhouse. And where you could currently find me, you can find me working for Bet Hannon and Bet Hannon Business Websites, where what we do every single day is build WordPress websites, very specifically with accessibility in mind. Accessibility is our motto. That's what I do. Content's over there. And you can pretty much find me everywhere online, whether it is Twitter, Instagram, my own personal website. Wherever you would like to find me, you can find me at New York for Laura. It's real easy to find me. So, all right, let's get rolling. So what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is the block editor, which initially when it came out was very much being called Gutenberg. It's now very much shifted to being called the block editor, but people kind of use those two terms interchangeably. I probably will slip back and forth doing that, so don't feel like I'm talking about two different things. It is in fact the same exact thing. I will tell you this, if you were somebody who used the block editor really early on, back when it released in 2017, and haven't touched it until today, it is a night and day difference. I am here to tell you in 2017, when I first tried it, I was super excited to try it. If anybody knows Aaron Jorbin, who's a guy who's on the core team of WordPress, Aaron Jorbin came to me at the time because at that point I was the marketing lead for WordCamp US, and he's like, hey, the Gutenberg team would love to get some feedback. You think we could be using it on our site? And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And he's like, great, I'm so glad you're into this. Fantastic, that's awesome. He's like, look, we really need that feedback. If WordPress needs to eat its own dog food, we need to know about it. I was like, Jordan, don't worry about it. We're on this. We're going to do this. I can't wait to try it. Cue about 4 hours later, I sent Aaron Jorbin a 20-item bullet-pointed list of how much was wrong with it in 2017, and I told him to buy stock in Alpo. Flash forward to spring of 2019, where I found myself in a different position, and I was again having to use Gutenberg every day. And I literally thought, oh Lord, brace myself. What am I getting myself into? And I was really, really pleasantly surprised at how amazing in just 2 years the experience is. It's night and day. I am now actively annoyed if I have to create something in Classic Editor. Without question, I am faster, more accurate in the Gutenberg editor. I can do things that I can't do in the Classic Editor. And hopefully you all will see why I have come around to that opinion. Couple of things I would recommend for folks just getting involved in this. If you've never done this before, if you want to say, but I want like a place to test this off, how do I do this? Couple things I recommend. Create a sandbox site, a staging site. You want a playground where you can go, wonder what this does. And be nosy. Like a lot of what I'm going to cover is the treetops level. I very frequently give our clients a page where they can go and play. And I'm like, go in here and play. There are tons of blocks. There is a smorgasbord of blocks to be explored. Go in there and go, wonder what this does. You're not going to break anything. Go discover and find out, because there's lots being added every day. There's lots of improvements being added to every day. So that's important. Speaking about improvements, there is in the WordPress repository a Gutenberg plugin. The plugin is beta. It is experimental. It is the stuff they're playing around with for future releases. That is not to say it's highly unstable. It's just that you can get some unintended reactions if you have that plugin on. I discovered that to my peril at one point. The next thing that they're going to be working on is full site editing. And I had the plugin on one of my clients' site, and I accidentally possibly disappeared all the widgets. So don't have that on unless it's in like a sandbox site, I would recommend. Couple other things. Again, I said this is very much from a content creator's perspective. I know sometimes if you're going to a WordCamp or a WordPress meetup, it's a little hard to find people who content is what they do. And I just want to give a big shout out to Cam and Michael and Jason for embracing a content creator to make a presentation, because a lot of places don't do that. But if you want to find other people who create content that you can bounce ideas off of, ask advice of, and these are people who are all using Gutenberg every single day, there's a bullet pointed list for you of half a dozen people who are very happy to engage with you, talk with you, give you advice. So you have a, a ready little list here right there. And then the other thing I would also urge you to do is, there are some naysayers out there, and I'm not saying there aren't elements of this that are buggy. I will tell you what is buggy, and let you see that warts and all, but 90% of it is amazing. I would say from a content creator perspective, if someone is telling you this is terrible, this is horrible, find out the last time they used it. If they used it last in 2017, I agree with them. If they haven't touched it in 2 years, maybe we might want to reconsider that opinion. Also, if somebody's giving you an opinion and they're not a content creator, I'm not saying there aren't development things that could be better. I'm not saying there are design things that could be better. I'm just talking about this from a content creator standpoint. So definitely think about that when you're hearing advice from folks talking about what this experience is like. So let's kick it off. I teach people how to use Gutenberg every day, both people who have been longtime Classic Editor users and people who have never been in WordPress a day in their life. And this right here is a treetops version of the order I go in when I teach people how to use it. And this is true whether or not I'm teaching them, Classic Editor people who are now learning Block Editor, or if this is people who have never done this before in their life. And I'm going to flip in a second to an actual page so you can see me demo this concept exactly, but I just want to show you kind of the order that I go in here. The one thing, or not the one thing, but one of the main things that I love about the block editor is the fact that you can highlight, copy, and paste out of a Google Doc or a Word doc and slap it into the content container, and there is no ramification for doing so. It will maintain your formatting, it will maintain your links, it will pretty much maintain everything. The one thing you cannot do is you can't like put a picture in a Word doc or a Google Doc and take that over. There's a number of reasons why that is not going to work. But if we're just talking raw text, you can take what's there and slap it in the website, and you're not going to get 20 million div tags that you didn't think were coming. You're not going to get wonky formatting. You're not going to get all these other things that were bad if you tried that in Classic Editor. So that's one of the key things I recommend that people do, because it also gives us a number of beneficial side effects. And then this is the order that I go in. So let me just change over here for like 1 second, and let me get my other screen going. Give me like 1 second. Share screen, and let me do, here we go. Hold on 1 second. Nope, wrong thing. Hang on, let me try that again. And hold on. Hang on just 1 second, folks. Bear with me. There we go. That's better. And all right, and let me just reshare. All right, hopefully we're all back at looking at something that is pretty familiar, which is WordPress dashboard. So one of the things that I do is I just ask clients to go and create a page. And what I usually do is I tell them, look, just work this page from top to bottom. So I'm just going to give it a title. And then I just have some content that I either have done as a sample or I ask them to have for me. And I just make sure that it's ready to go so I can give them something to work with. So I'm just going to highlight, copy, and paste a Word doc that I happen to have. It's a penne vodka recipe if you like food. But there you go. So the first thing that I do is I show them that you can highlight, copy, paste right out of Word or Google Docs. It maintained my header, that's an H2. It brought in the H3. It brought in a numbered list. It brought in links. It brought in all kinds of things. And what I do from here is basically show people the concept that when you're in the block editor, unlike the classic editor, in classic editor, you had all your buttons running across the top that may or may not have applied to anything that you were dealing with in the content container. With the block editor, if you're in here and you click on it, you get a menu bar that pops up right up above that deals with the most common things that you are going to do with that item. Here you can see I have a header. It's an H2. The most likely things I'm going to do is align it. I'm going to bold, italicize, maybe add a link. It gives you what are the most common things. Same thing here, true on a subheader. If I came down here now to a list, well, it's going to change because the things you would do with a list are different than what you might do on a header. There you can see I might want to change it to an unordered list, which is as simple as clicking. I might have to change an indent. Maybe something was a sub item and not a main item. And you can see the menu is right there rather than me having to go all the way up here and going, oh, where is this thing that I need? Nope, it's right here, right at your disposal. So that's what I start off with doing. The next thing I start off with doing is folks are like, hey, that's great. I've got text in here. Fantastic. I love text, but I have photos, right? What do I do with those? That's when I show them how you can add other content to the block editor. There's lots of ways of doing this. I always tell people in WordPress, the nice thing is that there are 5, 6, 7 ways of doing a thing. I will show them one way and I say, if you stumble on something else, it's not wrong. It's just another way of doing it. And the right way of doing it is the way you like doing it. So what I try to do to get people to figure out how blocks work and adding blocks, I tell them to come down to the end of the content they've created and they should see a little black plus button at the bottom. And if they don't see it, I tell them go to your last column block. Let me just backspace this off. We don't need 12. I always tell them, go to the last place that your content is, hit enter, and if the plus button has not been up, it will appear. I then tell them, click the plus, because this is how we add content that we're not highlight, copying, and pasting into the content box. So if I hit this plus button, you get the most common blocks that come up, and they learn from you over time. It's artificial intelligence. It's the most common blocks that you use. It takes it maybe about a week or so to figure out what your style is. So it'll pop up the 6 things you most frequently use here. And then after that, you have 2 ways of figuring out what kind of block you're going to add. You can either type right in here where it says search for a block. You can type what you're looking for and it will come up with choices based on what you typed, or you can click the browse all, and I'm going to click that now, and what you're going to see is you're going to get a smorgasbord of choices. So there's the smorgasbord of all kinds of different things you have to do. I'm going to hit some of the highlights, but that's why I'm saying eventually you're going to want a playground where you can say, wonder what this button does. So I'm going to grab the image because, call me crazy, I'm thinking most of us need to add images to our content. So I'm just going to hover over it, click on it. Just give me 1 second. I was just out of the text. There we go. You can see here standard options, upload, media library, where are you going to get your source from? They do have a source here that's insert from URL. Don't recommend that one. What's at the end of that URL today may not be at the end of that URL tomorrow. But I'm just going to grab something out of our WordPress media library. Here's my penne vodka. Pop it in. Great, fantastic, it's in here. And then you're going to say, yeah, great, Laura, I get it. There's like a little menu here. I could center align this. I could right align it. There's a new crop feature they just started. But I don't want that picture down there. What am I going to do with it? Here's what's great. If you click on each block, you may notice there are these little arrows here. It's on this block. If I click into my numbered block, here's some arrows. Here's what you get to do. You can move things. Back in the old days, if you had a picture in the wrong spot, it was a lot of, oh, got to move that. Nope, that's not where it goes. All right, let's try that again. Delete. Oh, put it back again. Nope, that's still wrong. Now you can just literally pop it up and down wherever you think it should go. You can also, let's get it way up here. You can also decide where you're going to align it. I'm going to go for a right alignment. And you're like, yeah, but it's kind of big. Is that really going to work? You can also size it up and down. Take a look, little blue handles here at the left and at the right. There we go, right aligned. The other nice thing about this is you cannot knock it out of proportion. So you can't get this crazy stretched looking image here. So that's how I start with this. Here are some other things that I then bring in that are amazing blocks that are at our disposal. Again, I'm going to add some new content. I'm going to come down here to the bottom. I'm just going to click in down here. I got my plus button. I bet you a lot of us have to deal with PDFs every day. Again, I'm going to hit add a block. Just for sake of argument here, I'm going to go browse all again. The name of the PDF block is the file block. I'm going to grab that. And again, you can upload one, pick it from the media library. Love this, one of the most useful blocks, and I'll show you why in a second. Let me just grab a PDF. Here's my penne vodka recipe. Gonna throw it in there. Couple of things. We've all been there. How many of us have uploaded a PDF that had a terrible name? Make sure you're naming your PDFs something that are really good. Here's what happens, and I'll preview this in a second and you'll see what's going on. So right here you can see penne vodka ingredients and supply list. All right, let's just be consistent and put this entire thing in title case. So if you have something that is unfortunately named, you can fix the display name. And as you notice right here, it has these words and then it has the button download. But how does that look on the front end? Let's show you. And I'll show you why this is great as opposed to what you have now in Classic Editor. Coming down here, here is a link. So if I don't want to download this, if I'm on my smartphone, if I'm on my tablet, I'm not looking to download this, I just want to see it, I can hit the link and I can just see it. Versus, let me just hit back. Or if I actually am like, nope, I need that, I got to go print it, download. If you hit this, it will, as you can see right here, lower left of my screen, the download will actually get triggered. This is great also for an accessibility issue. There are lots of folks that just need to see it. There's folks that need to download it. This is very keyboard friendly. Big accessibility win here. Other things that pop up that I do all the time, sometimes items can get a little bit bunched up. Let me move this photo that I had up here down again. Let me just bring it back to what its original position was. Let me unalign it. Let me align it center for now. And let me just kick it back up to its regular size. All right. Let me preview this for you so you can see what I'm going to be talking about here. All right. That's a little close with the space. Like, it's all right, but maybe I need a little more space in here. One of the things that's nice now with the new block editor is something that's called the spacer block. So again, I'm just going to click here, get my plus button, and I'm going to go grab the spacer block. Super, super helpful. And as the name implies, it gives me some more space. I think it comes in as at a default of 10 pixels. I'm just going to use my up arrows, put it where I want it. I'm going to actually say, yeah, let's actually put it right here. I'm going to give myself a little more space between my photo and my list here. So let me preview that for you again. And you can see there's now a whole lot more space here. And what's cool is it operates like a window shade. You could, I mean, you know, if for some bizarre reason you actually wanted 500 pixels of space, I mean, you can do that. I'm not sure it's the best use case, but you're perfectly capable of doing that. You can do that. Or you can tighten it up. Maybe you only wanted, you know, smaller pixels, 20 pixels. And what's actually nice, as I said, they improve things constantly with this. The pixel counter here is a new addition. This wasn't in here like 3 weeks ago. This is a new thing. Super helpful if you're trying to do something exact, which is pretty cool. Other item I'd like to show you, super helpful, is the separator. And let me just scroll down and find the separator right here. And what this is basically your former HR horizontal line. You want to break up your content a little bit. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Let's break up some of that in between the supplies. There's a horizontal line. And again, you do get your most common items here right above. Here's the other thing too. So let me call everybody's attention over to this. Let me just come up here to the top. As I said, you get different menu items depending upon what kind of section you're dealing with. As a generality, the most common things are right here at your fingertips. but sometimes you want some extra functionality. What are some additional things I can do? That's when you're going to wander over here into your right sidebar and be nosy. You can see that this is an H2. Well, maybe your H2 comes in at a height you're not a fan of. You want it bigger or lower for some reason. You could start customizing the height here and do whatever you want with it. Maybe you want to change the colors. Maybe you're like, I don't want it to be black. Maybe I want to, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a color, make it red. I can make it red. You have a lot of possibilities. So each and every block, there is something, like I said, the basic functionality is right here, but there are some additional things you can do here in between custom CSS to just like default items. I'm not sure why you would want to reverse list numbering on a list, but apparently people do. So that's there. You can toggle that on or off. Lots of good things in here with photos. You can see that there's different options you can do on some masking on the photos of what you can do. Very easy to put in alt text for photos right now, which is super important for folks with screen readers. Also has some excellent SEO benefits here. You can type in your sizing. If you know you want an exact pixel in there, you can do that and it will keep the ratio solid for you. So lots of things going back and forth there that you can do. So this is how I start off. These are like the basic blocks that I feel like 90% of the people are going to use day in and day out. But there's more. So let me flip back again to the PowerPoint presentation. And let me keep going with some other things that, whoops, let me try that again. Give me 1 second. Let me backtrack that. Give me 1 sec. Helps if I start on the right screen. Yeah.
I was just going to say, everybody in the chat, I see a lot of things going over to panelists. If you want to talk so everybody can see it, make sure you select panelists and attendees, or else just the four of us are going to see it.
Oh, okay, great.
That wasn't aimed at you, Laura. That was just aimed at everybody that's in the chat.
Okay, all right. Hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure. Okay, I'm right there. Let me hit start again. And all right, here we go. And give me, this is like when you click the wrong button and things don't work. Here we go. Share screen, and we're back. There we go. All right. So, give me 1 second. Let me go back and back. Okay, so I showed you the basics. There is stuff that is beyond the basics that made me want to jump up and down like Laura Linney in Love Actually. Blocks that I used to have to rely on a designer or developer or a custom post type, that I now can have some things at my disposal, which are amazing. So let me show you what some of that amazingness is. Something called a media and text block, where that is good is it is a way for me to control that my media, whether it is a video, an image, whatever my media is, and text, I can assign media and text that absolutely go with each other and stay with each other. I don't have to worry about them getting separated. I don't have to worry about when it goes on mobile, these two things might look disjointed. It's a cool way of keeping stuff together. And I'll show you how that works in a second. Posts block, which I like. It allows me to filter posts in very specific areas. I used to have to rely on plugins to do this. I don't have to rely on a plugin to do this anymore. Column blocks. Has anybody ever had to deal with table press before? I have columns that just happen really, really nicely. The other thing that's really cool is the reusable blocks. That will get a whole little preview of its own in a second. These 4 items are built in with Gutenberg. You don't have to do anything specific. They just come right in. There's nothing funky extra you need to do. The other thing that's cool is there are tons of different companies out there who are developing blocks that are in addition to what comes baked in. There are lots of them. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a list that I like. So this is no shot against any given company that's got a block that I don't highlight. It's just, this is just specifically some stuff that I love. So I don't want anybody to take away from this, oh, she didn't mention this, don't go get those blocks. No, I'm not saying that. But if you're looking for accordions, a lot of companies have them. I personally like the stackable accordions the best. Your mileage may vary. If we want to deal with light box effects, the best one for that, and they have just renamed it. So if you were like, wait, that's not what it's called. No, they just renamed it. It is Publish Press Blocks that has that one. If you're looking for a timeline, I happen to like the one put out by Getwid. If you're looking for count up blocks, stackable again is the one that I like. And then if you're looking for a table of contents block, Ultimate Add-on is the one that I like. So let me start by demoing some of the third-party blocks, and then I'll back into the ones that are built in. So give me a second again, and let me just screen share some of the other sites, and I will get this rolling for you. Give me 1 second. Okay, minimize that, and just hang in there with me for 1 second. Okay, here we go. And this might be a little bit of a little out of order of what I just previously did, but you'll get to see them all, even if it is just slightly out of order. Okay, first one I was talking about is the accordion blocks. For those of you who aren't familiar with an accordion, it's going to be this area right here. And what the accordion blocks do is when you hit the toggle arrow, it reveals text that's hidden underneath. How this is really good is it stops you from having text that just kind of like eats the page and has to have people scroll a lot if they're just looking for something in a certain area. So for example, right here on this website, it's the resource page. People would just really want to pick the area of resources that was germane to them. Another place you see this work a lot is on like an FAQ page. And you can see if I just hit that toggle button open, it will reveal this information super quickly. Literally, I can do all of this with a highlight, copy, paste. This would have been a pain to do otherwise. Highlight, copy, paste, believe me, was not in the cards. This I can do with highlight, copy, paste, which is amazing in blocks made by a company called Stackable. Here's the next one I want to show you that's a lot of fun. Note these numbers right here. Hang on for a second. They're going to do something really funky. I'm just going to scroll up for a second. And now let me scroll down. They're not moving because this page has been here for a bit. Oh, let me do this. Let me hit refresh. Hold on. See how the numbers counted up? Let me just hit that again just so people can see what's going on. If you have, you know, something that you want to count up, show this is how we've done this in how many years, this is our growth, what have you. Really, really cool count up blocks there that I love. Again, this one is Stackable, who has the count up blocks. Here's another one that's really awesome. I don't need to be logged in. That's fine. Let me just, there we go. This is a really cool one. Timeline block. You can see how it kind of zigs and zags back and forth here and creates a timeline as you go down. Really cool. This one's actually done with text in 2 places. You can also do it with images. You can put images in here. You could put, I guess you could probably put video in here too. I haven't tried that use case yet, but you can do it, which is awesome. Other one that I mentioned on the previous list was a table of contents block. Really cool here. I could just zip down to whatever item I want, which is really nice. And that happens in the table of contents block. So you get your overview and then click and you get exactly where you want to go. I don't have to play with anchor tags all day long. Really nice stuff going on. And again, these are all different things that come up that are super handy. Here's another one I'm going to show you that's really handy. As I said, it's not all a bed of roses. Built into Gutenberg is a gallery block, which I am here to tell you is pretty useless. The gallery block will put things up in a mosaic pattern, or it will put them up, you know, like three. It depends upon like the size of your items. It'll put it up 3 across, 2 across. You know, if you have things in different sizes and shapes, it'll try to make it look pretty. But it pretty much, the built-in block, all it does is just line up all your images. Now, I don't know about you, but if I get a block like this, I want to click on the image and see it. That's the point of a gallery. So the gallery block that comes in, what it does is it adds a feature to the built-in Gutenberg one, where when you click it, you get a lightbox effect. It pops up and you get an arrow that you can advance to the next one, which is, I think, like typical functionality of what you might expect there to be. All right, so let me demo some of the other ones. These are some of the third-party blocks that come in and where you can get it. Let me go back to some of the regular ones. Let me go hit that demo page I was showing you again. And let me show you some other things that you can do. So let me bring in what I called the media and text block, and I'll show you how that one works. In fact, I don't feel like looking for it. I'm just going to search for it this time. I'm going to type up in my search bar. Media and text. You can see as I started typing, it'll pop up. You will find it. All right. And as the name implies, it gives you media and text. Side by side, it will forever orient those two together. So I'm just going to grab an image out of my library again. Oh, I'll just grab the wheel of cheese because why not? It looks really good. And I'm just going to type in, use this kind of cheese. It will keep this together as a unit, which is important. I usually recommend, if you're using this block, I tend to find that I like to align vertically to the top. I think it looks a little better, but your mileage may vary. You can change it, align center however you want. You can also change the alignment. The default is picture on the left, text on the right. You can flip-flop that around if you want. What's nice about this block, like I said, it forever keeps these two items together. So if you want to just move these items together rather than having to like move the text, then move the picture, this is super handy. The other thing that will happen is on mobile, it tucks the picture under your content. So the first thing that will come up is your content, and then the picture will tuck right underneath, which I think is really handy. You don't have to worry about, sometimes a mobile, it'll get a little funky and you'll get like half of a word and half of an image and it might look a little weird. This kind of stops that from happening on mobile, which I think is massively handy to a lot of us. Other thing that I like too, that I was talking about, is the column block. And I'll, instead of going browse all again, I'm just going to show you that you could search for it. Move my head so I'm not in the way. I'm going to pick the column block. And you get your choices. Do I want a 50-50 column, 70-30? You know, how do you want your column? I'm just going to go for 3 across. Um, you you can go, I think on, if you got one of the column blocks from like Stackable or one of the other providers, you can sometimes get 4 across. Technically speaking, I think you can even tell it to go, like, frankly, to 100 across. I'm not sure how that would work exactly at a website. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. But it instantly gives you column options. This would have been a nightmare going back and forth with a custom post type, going back and forth with a plugin, different settings. It literally has lined up 3 columns with me. And if I hit each one of these plus buttons, I can put anything in here I want. For example, I'm going to put in an image. Oh, let's grab this. Why not? And then the next thing, what do I want next? I don't know. Maybe I want some text.
Laura, I can't do a
Yep.
Q&A, but I have a super interesting question about just this
Sure.
particular block.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you notice that look how narrow the content area is. The max
Yes.
width of that is like 560 pixels, I think, last
Mm-hmm.
time I checked. I know I can programmatically adjust that to have a wider area to work, especially if I'm working on something like a
Sure.
sidebar.
Yep.
Is there a better way from like a content point of view that you can like expand that edit area? So like if you're like, say like you have like that 3 column block there,
Yeah,
it's
and you just wanted to see a little
like
bit
yeah,
more of
like
what you're doing.
yeah, like
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then it
yeah.
could be super narrow.
Yes, actually, I was going to get to that a little bit later, but since you're asking, I'll show it to you now. You see how I have this right column here? You can actually turn it off, which then I think, and then you can also then like increase your screen size so you can see what you're doing a little more. Also, depending upon the website you're on, if you if you are if you take out the sidebar temporarily, I also find that you're able to see it a little better. Um, so those are some of the ways that you can do it. It does, I will say, it does jam up sometimes, which is a little bit frustrating for sure. I agree with that. It does, it can be a little jammed up in here. And I do have some sites where the use case where I find I use these column blocks really frequently is when I have clients that are like, hey, can you put up the logos of our like 10 partners who are working with us on this project? We want this on this page. Okay, sure. Um, and sometimes when I'm doing logos, they can get a little jammed up. When they display on the front end, they look fine, but you are right. They do get a little bit jammed up here um, on the back end. So I can play with it a little bit. I can't play with it a lot. I will tell you that for sure.
Yeah, I'm just curious why they made it so narrow and not
Yeah, it
wider.
could be. And that's actually a great thing. I actually have on my list to go provide them with feedback on something. I will provide them with that feedback. So I will go,
Love it.
I will go do that. I recently provided some other feedback. I'm literally making a note right now to put in a ticket about that. Um,
Yeah,
so
cool. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, no, but great question. So like I said, I don't know if anybody's ever had to miserably do things in columns and then you would, do it in a plugin and you will look and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not what I wanted. Here, it is very much WYSIWYG. In other words, what you see is what you get. You get more control with it. Preview that over for you over yonder. Um, you can see columns down here and you could continue to line things up. I mean, you got to play a little bit back and forth, images, what size is it that you're dealing with, but such a time saver over what I used to have to do. Here's one of my favorites is a post block. So we're all familiar with posts, right? It's our news blog. And this is a typical site. Actually, shout out to an organization that's here in Montclair, Studio Players. I happen to control their website. I'm a board member on Studio Players. And as you can see, like many organizations, Studio Players has a news feed going on. You know, we've got a couple of fundraisers rolling. We had a play come up that was online. We had another fundraiser. We're congratulating people for winning some awards, committee meeting report, you know, typical kind of stuff you're going to see in a news blog that, you know, covers everything soup to nuts. Well, I'm all about not having to rewrite my content. So for example, you notice we have a bunch of fundraisers here going on. We got a couple of special events. What if I wanted those just to appear on the special events page? I can do that with a block called the posts block. And as you can see here, I just have the special events coming out here. I don't have anything else. I just have the special events. I don't have to worry about other stuff getting filtered here. And I'll show you a little bit more with this, then I'll show you how I do it. For example, here at the main stage shows, sure, we have some boilerplate happening about like, this is how you can always find our shows. This is what our seating is like. But like, what's our current show? I don't have to rewrite my content. I have the post about the main stage show right here. Same here for kids shows. I have the kids shows listed right here. I don't have to rewrite my content. Here's my boilerplate, and then it's just filtering over the posts that are in this particular category. So let me show you how we're doing that. If I edit the page, give it 1 second for it to load. This saves me so much work. I don't have to put in another plugin to do this. This is all innate with Gutenberg, and you can also do a little bit more if you use the stackable posts block. So I'm just going to click on the content container here. I'm using the one from Stackable, but there's also a built-in one right in basic Gutenberg. And just to kind of show you what you get, you can see here on the right-hand side, a lot more came up. I put in this block, and when you put it in, you get choices of, you know, how much column of info do you want information in columns? Do you want it just in a single list? Do you want to bring in featured images? Do you not want to bring in featured images? How much of a snippet do you want to bring in? Do you want to continue reading? Do you want to load more? You also can end up, I'll just show you right here. I'm filtering this by categories. When I wrote my post, I assigned each of these a category of children's show, which tells, you know, I'm fine for it just being on my news feed with a children's show category, but I've created this block to filter the content to only display children's shows also over on this page. So I don't have to rewrite content. I don't have to repurpose it. It's one-stop shopping. I can do this anywhere. The other thing that's really cool with these blocks is it will let me pull in posts. It'll also, hello events calendar people, let me pull in items that I've categorized in the events calendar. How cool is that? So lots and lots of functionality on that particular block. Love it. So let me go to what I call the granddaddy of them all block, which people may or may not have seen this before. Give me like 1 second. I got to do a little highlight, copy, paste here. So how many of us have boilerplate we're tired of writing? I know I am. So I just threw in a paragraph. I've got a little H2 going on here. I've got a description. For fun and games, let's add one more item. I'll just go pull in something out of my media library. I have a headshot in here. I'm sure I do. Here we go. All right, and let's align my headshot. And let's align it. Let's get it up here. Okay, so here's my little bio for a section on my blog. I don't want to have to rewrite that. You know, maybe you have, you know, maybe you have multiple authors on your website and each of them has a little bio and they're tired of rewriting their bio every time. Or you're stuck doing a custom post type to put their bio at the bottom of something. Or there's other boilerplate information you are tired of writing. I just showed you the Studio Player's website a second ago. I can tell you I am tired of writing information about our ticket prices and our show times. I really tired of writing that information. Here's what you can do. You can take boilerplate and you can make it a reusable block. Here's how you do it. You put in your boilerplate and then you highlight it. And give me 1 second. Sometimes, sorry, it's not this, it's my mouse on this. Sometimes it gets persnickety. Let's try it again. And sometimes you have to like play with this a little bit. It can be a little fidgety sometimes. Come on, guys. Give me a second. Let me size this down and let me try it again. All right, let's go for it again. There we go. Okay, see how I have this little option that came up here? It says change type of 3 blocks, and I'm going to group it. Transform to a group? Yes. What that means is I want this content to stay together as a unit. So now I've got this, that this is one solid unit that'll move up and down. Here's your next step. See the little 3 dots here, dot, 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 more options. I'm going to hit that and I'm going to scroll down and add to reusable blocks. I'm going to call it Laura's bio. And actually I might have one in there already, so I'm going to call it Laura's demo bio and save. Okay, hold on. I'm going to get rid of this content for the minute. How you get rid of stuff, you can get rid of things in 2 ways. I can either come to the bottom and backspace like you would in Microsoft Word, or the other way you can get rid of any kind of block is hit the dot, 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 and go to remove block and it'll disappear. All right, I disappeared my bio. Let's get it back. Hit the plus button. If I remember what I called it, I could type for it in the search block and it would come up, or I can just start typing reusable and it will start popping up the items that I have reused, such as I have a newsletter call to action that is in there. This one is Laura's demo bio. I'm going to bring it back. Boom, it's back. Here's what's really cool about this. Let's see, I found a typo in this. Oh, I can edit it. I can fix my typo. I can hit save. And if this block is appearing in like 10 places across my website, I don't have to go track down the 10 places that this appeared. The typo will get fixed everywhere. Or for example, like I was talking about, I'm tired of writing ticket prices. I'm tired of writing performance times. I can change it in every iteration. I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I missed one. I have to go back and get it there too. Nope, I got it everywhere. There's so much availability on this. This literally is life-changing for me. The other thing that's really cool about this, I grouped together 3 things. You can group together anything you want. Sometimes it's a little bit persnickety. You got to play with it a little bit, but you can save anything and make it a template, make it something you reuse. And let's say you want to create this as a template and say, okay, I want this to be used like in another way. You just have to change out this paragraph, but I want this to be an H2. I want there to be a picture here. This is where I want you to put your paragraph. How do I do that? You bring it in, and then what you can do is you hit your edit. Sorry, let me just hit save again. So what you would do is when you bring it in, you go to your 3 dots. And if you just want the iteration to change in this one spot, or if you're just using this as a template, just come down here and go convert to regular block. And in this instance, it will convert it to a regular block. Here you also might have to ungroup it as well, but it will convert it into a regular block. You could change this, you could swap out a picture. for some other picture in your media gallery. And it wouldn't change it across site. It would only change it in this particular iteration, which makes it really, really super for you to have, you know, a template, boilerplate for somebody in your organization to use. You don't have to keep redoing things. So let me get out of this screen share and just give me 1 second. Let me go back into the PowerPoint and just bring you into a couple extra little things here. Just give me 1 second. Whoops, escape. It'd be nice if I shared the screen back again. And share and pull this back up. Couple little annoying things. Like I said, there are some things that are annoying. One of which is the default setting on the block editor is not to show that handy dandy right sidebar I showed you. I don't know why they think it is better not to show that by default. I know almost no one who likes that. The way you can fix that is by putting in a plugin that's called persistent block editor settings, and that will force that to always be there until, if you want to turn it off, you can turn it off. I like that. Couple other annoying things is that because the colors are so accessible and multitudinous colors, it can be a little easy for people to go off brand. I don't know if you have clients who like every color in the rainbow when they shouldn't. You can put in a plugin, or you can do some editing at the theme level to stop people from going off brand color. The button block is annoying. I will tell you that. It's great if you can get it to work well. The button block is fine until you try to delete it, and then you're like, why is it still there? It can be super, super buggy, and there is a ticket in about the that block being buggy. Whoops, you can't turn off any of the default blocks. So if you're like, oh, I don't want people on my site using this particular block, if it comes in with it, you can't turn something off. The good news is on the third-party blocks, you can turn off what you're not using, because the third-party blocks, like for the free versions, you'll get like 10 or 15 things. And if you go for a paid version, you could get it up to like 40 things. You might not be using all 40 of those bells and whistles. You can turn off stuff on the third-party blocks. You can't turn off stuff on the innate blocks. And that's where I'm at. I'm sure there are a bunch of questions that are sitting in the chats. And as I said, I'll give this whole presentation to all the Montclair organizers so they can, you know, share that with all of you. And I'm just going to stop the share on this, and I'll just have the back end of one of those websites rolling. So this way, if you have a question, I can just demo it in real time will be my goal. So yeah.
Awesome job, Laura. This was really, really interesting. And coming as a developer, seeing how people use these tools makes it way more interesting, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
There are a few questions. Some of them were in the chat. If anybody asked a question in the chat, if you could please just move it over to the Q&A, just so we can make it easier. There's only 2 in the Q&A, but this is typically how it works. People ask about 2 questions, and then
stuff pops up.
You get about 20 more.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna throw this up, because if I need to demo it, it's just really easy for me to play on this page. So
yeah. Okay. So the first question is from Jack. He asks, I guess the question is, can you copy and paste from other word processors?
Yes. No, what's the one? I don't frequently use a Mac, but what's that Mac thing? Is Pages? Is that it? Yeah, there's no ramification out of Pages. I have not found an issue out of Microsoft Publisher. I will tell you, if you try to highlight, copy, paste out of a PDF, it is just as wonky as you think it's going to be. But I feel like that that's real life when you try to copy and paste out of a PDF. So if you have the Adobe suite and you have a PDF where you're like, I really just want these words, use the Adobe suite, save your PDF as a Word doc and go from there. Save yourself the angst.
He said
Well,
LibreOffice.
I mean, but even copying and pasting from an Adobe PDF is not guaranteed. You're still going to get garbage sometimes.
Yeah, it's a little better though if you take it into Word and then like knock the images out. Like it's not perfect, but it's better than starting from scratch. I'll say that for sure.
All right, next question is from the famous Bud Kraus.
Hey, bud.
What theme is this? I got here late.
He asked that question. He asked that question when you're showing your demo with the
Oh,
vodka.
this is one of those stories of the shoe cobbler's child, like not getting the good shoes. I'm not sure. This site is undergoing repair. This site started off on WordPress.com because I had to, for a contract, build a site on .com. And I was like, all right, I'll just build my own website on .com. And then I just converted it off and I've never really played with it since. So I have not got a clue literally what theme is on here. We're all about to find out. It's not a great one, bud. I wouldn't recommend it. What is it called? Dara,
Dara.
D-A-R-A. I would not recommend it. It literally is one that I am very much like, I
Well,
just haven't had the chance to
well, the
replace it.
joy of WP is now going to start using Dara.
Yeah,
So.
I would say a lot of times I'm a couple themes that I do like. I like the Astra Pro theme. I've been working with that a lot. The Studio Players website that I demoed is on the Astra one. And a lot of the client ones that we're building is on the Genesis framework. We do a lot of Navigation Pro, we do a lot of Corporate Pro, bunch of those.
Can I point out one lifesaver,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're dealing with nested layouts with the I'm thinking of the layout block in particular.
Yep.
Those breadcrumbs in the bottom left.
Yes, or the top
Is that the
also.
top too? But
Yes.
I always say to the bottom left of like, how do I get back to the thing?
Actually, I'll show you
it.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let me show you a great trick. So here's what Mike's talking about is right down here. You can see it says there's a document and a heading. It shows you where you're at. Let me show you something that's even better. See these dots up here? It will show you the layout of your entire page, what I've got going on. But wait, there's more. So this shows me everything and in order of what I did. And if I had like content containers, and it was even more like I didn't do very much in this column block. Like if I had lots and lots of photos in and stuff, it would start showing me the details and all that. Here's something even better is see this this info link. If I hit this for content structure, look at this goodness, content creators. I can get a word count. I can get how many headings I have. I have my paragraphs. It tells me blocks. Here's the other thing it will tell me. If I go out of hierarchy, if I start with an H3 when I should have had an H2, it will flash up a big old warning at me to let me know I broke my hierarchy. Which, I know sometimes people do that and they think, oh, this is a pretty color, let me do it. Other times people have just inadvertently done something, particularly people writing long form. If you've got, a 2,000 word article, sometimes you just lost track. And you skip from H3 to H4 and you don't even know that you did it. So this info button, super handy up there. Yeah.
Also changing, going back to what you were showing before, like changing the size and the colors of your header doesn't mean like, because sometimes you have something that's more important that you want smaller and something that's less important you want bigger. You don't have to be like, oh, well, this is bigger, so I have to use the H2 and this is smaller. So I have to use the H4, so
you've
that's
got
really
that.
Cool.
Yeah, you've got that. And particularly like reasons for using like headers rather than just bold or rather than just like monkeying around. Super linked to try that again. Super linked to SEO, search engine optimization. It makes the biggest difference in a world for your SEO. And then secondly, voice search, which is still in its infancy. is incredibly linked to headers being on pages. If you want to watch an incredible demo with that, blew my mind, Chip Edwards, Google him, watch any of his WordPress presentations, and your mind will be blown on how important headers and headers in the right order are.
Yeah. So Carolyn asks a question that comes up very often in our meetup, because we have lots and lots of folks that use page builders.
Yep.
And her question is, does this convert or work with Elementor? So like they're two different systems completely, but like, I guess the question is, how do you go from one to the other? Like, or have you gone from one to the other?
So I have used, so as far as page builders I have used Divi, Elementor, Brizy, and WP Bakery. I have to remember now with Elementor, with Divi, I know I get a choice whether I want to work in Divi on a page or or like Gutenberg on a page. Elementor, I think I am still stuck using the Elementor system. I don't believe I get the choice to do it. I would have to go into, I don't touch an Elementor site that frequently anymore. With WP Bakery, you have to use WP Bakery. I have feelings about that. And then Brizy, you can't do it at all. And that's also a near nightmare in of itself. I get why people started with page builders. I mean, page builders started before this kind of functionality was there. I will tell you, like, I am just way faster at getting stuff done in a page builder. For me, the page builder has to load onto your site, which is additional bloat. You've got to click the open, you got to go toggle in, what am I doing here? To me, as a content creator, and other people may have different of opinions with this, I find that anytime I have to use a page builder, I want to rip my hair out, because it easily takes me doubly as long to do what I'm trying to do. And I frequently don't have a WYSIWYG situation, and I frequently find it gets buggy, and I'm incredibly frustrated. And that's, you know, like I said, my opinion as a content creator. I know other folks love them, but that's where I'm at with them.
Cool. Alicia wants to point out that apparently you can turn off native blocks. She didn't really go into detail.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I know that and I'm not sure, because I am not looking at it right now. I know that there are, when you're going into like preferences, there's like checkboxes to show and hide ones, and maybe that's where the native blocks can.
It might be. I'll have to check it out.
I'm sure programmatically you can turn them off somehow.
Yeah,
I don't that just like we have, like, there's like 5 or 6 different plugins allow you to just turn things off and on in the admin. We're going to see plugins. We're going to see plugins come out. There's going to be plugins coming, if they don't exist already, that allow you to turn blocks on.
Turn things on and off.
WordPress is really good about filters. So like, if you need to turn something off, there's usually a filter for it. But sometimes you have to get in the weeds to do it.
Yeah. So. The one thing I will say about like the third-party blocks, whether it's like Stackable or GetWid or I don't know, any of the other brands, the Publish Press, which used to be Advanced Gutenberg, where you turn stuff off varies for each of them, which I find really annoying. Some of them it's in settings, some of them is something else that pops up in your sidebar, some of them you have to do in the plugin dashboard. It can be a little bit of guesswork on where do I turn this off today. It's not all consistent, because, you know, they're all different publishers and they do what they do.
She mentioned in the 3, if you hit the 3 dots and go to Block Manager.
Oh, cool. So over here,
let's see.
Block Manager.
Maybe it's a newer thing.
Oh, hello. I did not know this.
This is a newer thing.
Yeah, or it's changed and I just haven't explored in a while. That's fantastic. Oh.
Thank you much, Alicia, for. I think that's what I did see.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
That's awesome. That's
great. Thank you for bringing that up.
Super awesome.
Is that just the native blocks, or is that everything?
That's all blocks. It looks
should bring
like.
it looks. Okay. I'm looking to see how many. Yes, WP nice. Recipe Maker is a third-party block on here. I'm just looking to see. I don't think I have.
Is that now the question that I have for this, and maybe Alicia could answer this.
Let me skip over the other
Is this
too.
global? Like if I turn off a block here, or is it local to that particular
I would think
post or
it's
page?
global. No, it's global. I know for sure it's global.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But what about,
and yeah,
but what
you can
about
see there's
multi-site? But what about multi-site? We don't know.
Multi-site, I don't know, but multi-site is a whole other kettle of fish of where you're going to be.
Good luck
Yeah.
at multi-site.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it and hate multi-site at the
Yeah.
same time.
But yeah, you can see.
I work in multi-site almost exclusively, and it's like there's times when if I had any here, I'd pull it out.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends upon where the data is saved.
Yeah.
And I can tell you if it's going to work for multi-site or if it's not.
One of the other things too that I've done with some of our clients too, what I do like is the native blocks come in the black color. A lot of the third-party folks, not all of them, like will have their blocks come in a specific color, so they kind of like have like a brand shout out going there. Stackables come in red. Trying to remember now who comes in blue. It's a nice.
Are you limited? Are you, and if you're a block developer, are you limited to just the dash icons library, or can you put your own library icons in there?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, you're never fully limited to anything, but are there easy APIs to follow? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I think that if I remember correctly, it is like a named thing. So it might be like when you're creating your block, you actually have to put in a name for the icon. And if I remember that correctly, then that would be a limit. That said, there might be a filter that you can give a custom name and then assign an icon to it and do the same thing. I mean, Genesis does it all over the place. There are icons everywhere, and that's not a dash icon.
Here's the other thing I just want to show really quickly. If I go to the home page here, I know a lot of us are used to, yes, I do really want to leave. I know a lot of us are used to a lot of times our home pages being built with like widgets and all sorts of things. This entire homepage is nothing but Gutenberg blocks.
That's amazing.
This is entirely Gutenberg blocks. But wait, there's more. This complex layout is entirely Gutenberg blocks. All of this is Gutenberg. All of this. This one here too. I mean, these are all way different looks, way different functionality going on. Every single one of these is all Gutenberg blocks. So it's possible. It's very, very possible.
One of the interesting things about blocks, this is, I feel like the same thing has happened between like themes and plugins. It's like, where does a thing live? So for instance, you'll see that like you can get a theme that gives you the kitchen sink, like install on the theme, and it could be content related. And once you change your theme, you lose whatever connectivity you had to that, and you can't use it anymore. Which makes you think like that should be a plugin in that case, for something like that. When it comes to blocks, it becomes even more of an issue, because if you're using a particular theme that is providing its own blocks, and you're like, you know what, I want a refresher and I need a new theme.
Yeah.
If you change that theme, you have to bring wherever those blocks are coming from that you're using, because it's directly in the database. It's directly
that's a great point. I will tell you, I mean, again, everybody's organization is different, whatever their priorities are. I can tell you that our organization very much, like I said, accessibility is something that we do. And with that is also our ability to say, you can port this to somebody else if you don't want to do this. So we tend to only deal with themes. We don't pull in a block that is specific to a theme, with the realization that, for exactly what you're saying, Michael, is that it could, you might not want that tomorrow. And why would you just go down that rabbit hole? Right. So, that's, our own priorities is when we're picking things, but, I don't know what other people's priorities are. I know there are
I'm just wondering about the ecosystem is really.
And with different hosting companies having bought up stuff recently, it's like, oh, what are you going to do with this today? Yeah, I think we've all been there when things of Hello Studio Press are slightly different than when we left them. You know,
I see a future help desk being like, I changed my theme and this block is gone. And like, well, that's because you changed your theme.
Yeah. So, but like, you know, hopefully you could then find something compatible out of this, out of the other multitudinous choices.
Yeah. We have some more questions. Sally asks, I have built-in templates on my site. Mm-hmm. Can I combine some posts use my standard and some use these indispensable blocks? If so, where do you choose which to use? I'm trying to figure out that.
Are we talking like a custom post type versus, is that what we're talking about?
I try templates on my site. Can I combine some posts that use standard of some of these?
I'm not sure how I don't think this would interface with like a custom post type. That would be my gut instinct there, probably. Like you could work around it, you can work within it. It would be my thing, but
all block. I guess. Well.
Oh no! Actually, I think yes, because if I'm understanding it right. So here's the thing: if we're talking a template, and I'm just going to go out on a limb here, it's probably something that's based on a shortcode. If it's pulling in a custom post type of some sort, it's probably shortcode based, right? Because there is a shortcode block. So depending what you're doing, when I was showing you a reusable block, you could pull in like a new paragraph, a picture, what have you, and then I could pull in a shortcode block, which does in fact exist, and then that could pull in something that was happening in a custom post type, or I don't know. There's a lot of I can think like staff plugins on staff pages. A lot of those are a whole different system, and that comes in on a shortcode. So anything like that, yeah. So I think the answer probably to that question is yes. It's just, how would this artistically look the best? What would be the best desktop and mobile experience for whatever you're doing?
A little further on that, just to make some clarifications about the block editor, that it's not all that magical in the sense that all that content is still in the, like, if you're looking at it from a database point of view, it's all in there. And it's just like, it's got some things just explaining like some context around content. So everything that's in a block still falls in where that classic editor would have been. Like, it's like you are still falling there. That said, you also like pay, if this isn't a post or if it's a custom post type or a page, like page templates still work the same way they always did. Custom post types work the same as they always did. You can tell some blocks to be like this block for this custom post type and not this one, or that one and not this one. So you like, if you have a custom post or a block that's specific to a custom post type, you can assign that and not make it available in other ones. Yeah. You can also do locking layouts with blocks. So if you like, you're getting more into the programmatic side of it, but you can have like a list of blocks that people just kind of like fill in. And they're locked in place.
And that's the new thing, that they're just starting out with that now. I'm going to get the name wrong here. I want to call their block patterns is what I think they're calling them now.
Okay.
But they're coming up with, for the lack of a better term, I'm going to call them preset templates that people are going to come up with that come with your theme. I haven't played much with them yet. They are there. There is a WP Tavern article on it that's really good. I will send you that link as well with my slides, so people can read on it. And I know Bud Kraus asked a question. He's in there somewhere. Bud's got some good resources on that too. So I'm going to go steal from Bud as well. And I'll send those over.
Femi asks, does adding more blocks slow down the page?
No. No more than text. It's not a block question. It's a what's in your block question. So if you put on 37 images, yes, your page will slow down, but that would have happened in Classic Editor too. Did you put 10 YouTube videos on the same page? Yes, well, then there's a reason it's going to slow down. So otherwise, no, there's not that bloat. And just to demo what Michael was showing you before, if you're wondering, like, how do you get to your code view? If you come up here, upper right-hand side, the 3 dots here in the upper right corner, hit that, go to code editor. I've got my code right here.
That's exactly what's saved in the database, basically.
Yeah.
Like if you were to look at the raw, same thing if you looked at like visual versus text in the classic editor, the text is what you would be what's raw in the database. This is what's raw in the database. I would advise not messing around with this unless you know exactly what you're doing, or you can break your blocks.
Yeah. Every now and then I've had the cause to go in there, and as you said, or you can break your blocks. Been there, done that, had the t-shirt. But sometimes I've used this when I'm like, oh, I really like this layout, but I want to use this again. You know what? I'm going to highlight, copy, paste this code and go take it over to another page. And then I'm going to flip it back to my visual editor and change out the image, or like whatever I liked that I did on one page and I want to replicate on another. I kind of do it that way. The other thing that I've found too is sometimes stuff breaks. The thing that has saved my life when I've done something when it breaks is I've put the Gutenberg plugin that I mentioned before. Every now and then, if something breaks, if I install the Gutenberg plugin and then I refresh the page, it just seems to fix it. And usually you'll see there's furious chatter going on in the core chat about, oh God, we have to go fix this thing. That it's a good temp fix. If there's like a system-wide bug, it's a good way of fixing something until they get on whatever happened.
Yeah, they have a lot faster cycles in that plugin than they do in core.
Yeah.
It's like exactly. One release a quarter at best, and the plugin can release stuff.
Yeah, at one point I think it was I forget which block, the container block broke everywhere. I was like, this is a disaster. And then I just turned on the plugin. I was like, yay, fixed.
Yay. Stephanie asks, is there another block option for adding, editing captions to photos?
You don't have to use another block. Let me show you how to do that magic. Hello, photo, click on it. See right down here, write caption? It's right there. Even better, hello. I can, with this caption, as you see, a little toggle showed up. I can bold, I can italicize, I can link to a caption. And here's the best part of this. It's per instance. So if I do this now and this same picture is somewhere else on my site, because this isn't like what Classic Editor is. Usually if you have to caption it now, it's captioned everywhere with the same caption, which is not always fun. This is per instance. So you can get in there and do whatever you want with this. And, you know, pretty much, I mean, you could make this a paragraph. I'm not sure you want to do that with a caption, but you could if you wanted to. Again, like just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Like 100 columns.
Yeah, exactly. Like just because you can do this, I don't think this is a good idea. Yeah. But yeah, that captioning feature comes in. And on this particular theme, you can see, like I said, this is not a great theme on this is my own personal site. But there are 2 styles right here now. On some of the other themes, you end up getting a couple of more styles where the caption comes in a nice little overlay. This is a super old theme right here, so some of the options are limited. On the newer themes, there were like 3 or 4 different styles of captioning that you can do that are really cool.
Awesome. Paul asks, is there a block that can house a Facebook post?
Okay, so yes and no. The short version is that Facebook and WordPress no longer play nice together. There used to be a Facebook block. There used to be an Instagram block. Hashtag Instagram is owned by Facebook. And I don't know the finer points, but there were some issues concerning APIs.
They changed their API. Their API, and their APIs are never compatible, and
they're a pain in the butt. So here's how you get around it.
Don't use it.
Because I used to. So no, there is actually a way around, and I'll show you how to do it. So what you're going to want to do, hit this block, and you're going to want the embed block.
Yeah.
So if you go in here, no, the wrong one. Sorry, I want the HTML block. Pretend I didn't say that. You want the HTML block. Remove
Oh,
block.
the embed block doesn't work?
Because the embed block is looking for a single URL and it will not work with Instagram or Facebook. So what you want to do is you look for the HTML block, pop that in, and then let me just go to an organization's Facebook page. I'm just going to steal from me and I'll show you how you do it. Because this can get a little wonky sometimes. So let's say for some reason I wanted to embed this particular Facebook post. What you do on Facebook is you hit the 3 dots that are right here. And you get an option for embed. Click that. It takes you off to another page because Facebook is annoying instead of just giving you the embed code. And then what you need to do is, hold on one second. I want they have changed this again.
Click the get code button. Click.
Yeah, where is it? I'm just not seeing
it. Down lower left blue.
Lower left blue. Oh, thank you. They've changed. They've literally they have changed the interface since I've done this the last time. That button used to be up top. Hit get code, and right there you can put this code wherever you want on your page.
Well, there's you have two. Yeah, one of them goes in the template, so you have to have edit. So you can use like a header and footer injection.
Yeah, let's not collect the analytics. We don't need that happening.
Yeah.
But
the other block goes into your post.
So which one? Again, they've literally just changed it. Which is the one here, the top or the bottom one?
The top one has to go into like a header and footer of the header. I'm sorry, it has to go in the body, or it goes right after the body of your template.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. You can put them both in the same thing. It'll work.
Yeah, you can, but then it's like
you don't want to repeat.
Yeah, they have totally changed this.
Yeah,
and like literally,
it's not an easy process.
I do this, which is.
And I don't think there's a way to embed a page either. You have to use you have to build a Facebook app now.
Preview this to see what it is. Yeah, all the other social media. If you're talking, let's just see what happened here. Yeah, this is like not as good as it could be for sure.
Yeah, you also have to be just from a security point of view, you just have to be careful with scripts and iframes.
Yeah,
like all the sites I work on, I wrap everything in WP post cases, so it actually strips out all that stuff. By default, it's there.
Yeah, the other social medias, here's what is really good though. All the other social medias are right there, and all they pretty much ask for is the URL that the item you want to embed appears upon. And Facebook that's interesting. That's back. Why is that back? Things I don't want to know about, get rid of that. I hit embed. I'm going to take this is how it used to work until they said they were getting rid of this functionality. I don't know why this is here. Let's find out what happens.
Are you using the plugin?
No, I don't think so. Let's see.
It might fail.
And let's preview it and let's see what happens.
It threw an error. It threw an error saying, sorry, content could not be embedded.
Yeah, it won't get in there. That's why. Okay, so this is they just didn't take it out of the repo here yet.
All I know is Facebook's terrible.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, no, but the other ones are all in here. It's literally just the matter of tossing in a URL. So let's say I wanted to do, Twitter. I can go grab the URL of any Twitter post, and I can instantaneously embed a Twitter post. It's not hard. I'll just grab whatever I said, which I think was about this meeting. So yeah, if I just go and grab this, actually, let me get it right there. You have to grab, for Twitter, you just have to grab the time code is how you grab the URL, which is kind of annoying because every social media platform is differently. Some places it's like, find the URL. Where's the URL? And Twitter, you have to hit the time code and then it'll embed it. Here you can see it even previews right here. And if I just go to preview again, you'll see that the tweet is now embedded right here. There we go.
Howdy. Love it.
There we go. Yeah.
Kiri asks, can we have URLs to those sites built with the block editor? So I think she's just asking.
Yeah, I'll give you the all the different sites. Sure, I'll give you that. Those are actually sitting in like a variety of sites that are sitting on my company's portfolio page. So I'm not giving you any trade secrets there.
The timeline, like some of the ones, some of the blocks you showed looked pretty complicated in the sense like an not an FAQ, what was it? The table of contents, or even more the timeline block. Is the editorial portion of that complicated?
It's super easy. It's literally click and drop and drag. It really is. I will say this. I literally just worked on a site the other day that is a church that wanted to display their 100-year history with this timeline block. I got right in there, did the content and what have you. My designer is going to go in there now on the back end and jazz it up more, but the basics are in there. Or, you know, on that day that Laura decides to pretend she's a designer, I could have done it. I could have gone in there and done some, you know, like, all right, let's change the color. Let's give it a background image. I could have done that. You know, my designer is going to make it look 10 times better than I did. So yes, it's very much there. I could have done it, but my designer would make it look better.
Do you have issues with third-party blocks, especially when you have from theme to theme, where like you have like weird renders on the front end because of theme CSS? Like, do you run into a lot of those issues?
I can't say I've run into that with great frequency. Every now and then I'm like something, actually, no, you know where I do run into it is the freaking button block. If something is going to go wrong, it's always the button block. So yes, I will say that it is the button block, but other than that, not that it hasn't really come up. I would say also a lot of the sites that we're doing now, we're building from scratch, where, you know, so that CSS conflict isn't in there because we're starting from scratch, you know. But, you know, sometimes if we've pulled a site in, particularly if it isn't a page builder, sometimes there's like, oh, what is this wonky leftover code that's in here? And I've got to go in and haul stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah, converting from a page builder site to Gutenberg is going to be challenging.
I will tell you, highlight copy, as much as I know people want to haul stuff in, God, highlight copy paste was so much easier. Yeah, what we've done is here's how we've come in between. We've ended up importing the posts, and then we did the pages based on highlight copy paste. Usually it was less problematic because the posts would kind of stay within an old classic block, saved, preserved as to what they were. And then the pages, we would just, like I said, start from anew, and it was just less painful to go that route.
If it's a big enough, if it's a big enough site and you have a big enough budget, you could also write, like, have a developer write CLI scripts.
Sure.
Go from A to B and do
that. Yeah. I have not hit that budgetary instance yet. Let me put it that way.
You'd have to have quite a lot of content to justify like doing that, because that would
when I'm migrating from like another CMS the school's using to WordPress. So let's say they're using like Schoolwires or Edlio or who said, oh God, Schoolwires.
Me, been there. 12 years I used to work for the Archdiocese of Newark Schools Division. I understand.
I'm not going to withhold my opinion. Schoolwires is absolute garbage. But migrating from one of those existing CMSs to WordPress, like the bigger the site, the more complicated it's going to be. And in some cases, you're actually better off throwing everything away and starting over.
Yeah.
And just literally rebuilding pages one by one and just leaving a bunch of junk behind, because trying to do an automated migration from a CMS to WordPress. And this is going to be the same problem with migrating from a page builder powered site to Gutenberg. There's going to be some tools that allow you to do a few things, to do, crossover imports, but those tools don't exist yet.
And you would also need an equivalent block. You'd also need an equivalent block for whatever.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a multi-site that's powering about 30 or 40,000 pages, and it's their posts, and it's like, yeah, it's going to be a challenge. But you have to figure out those processes because there's no uniform process. It's going to be different for every site.
And even if you pull it in, it's like, what other junk is it pulling in that now I have to go in and manually, if I'm ready now going to have to go back and manually pull out stuff, is it just easier to do it?
It just means I have a job in the future. That's all.
Yeah.
Have a job. Copy, paste, publish. Copy, paste, publish.
Yeah.
Copy, paste,
I was just saying, anybody who's ever dealt with Wix, we've been there.
Cool. Alicia asks, she says, what about third-party blocks slowing down the site? I heard they do because of added scripts. This goes back to what Laura said. It's a block by block basis. It's the block that could be slow. It would be slow whether it's a classic editor or whether it's in a template, whether it's anything. It's like, if it's a slow block, don't use it. Use
and turn off what you're not using. Just like a plugin, like any regular plugin that gives you, I'll use a classic Jetpack. If you're only using Jetpack for two things, turn off the rest of Jetpack. Like any other item. If you're only using it for a certain item, turn off what you're not using. It's the same principle here. Just because it gives you 50 things to play with, if you're only using 3 of them, turn off the other 47.
Jetpack is just where Automatic dumps all their features.
Right. That's why I'm saying turn it off.
They just dump, like, should this be, like, where do we put this? Just put it in Jetpack.
Yeah.
Jetpack.
Like, I get it. You're using a Kismet. You're tracking your stats. Fantastic. Turn off the rest of it.
They acquired, No BS CRM?
Yes.
They acquired that company, and then they rolled it into Jetpack, and they call it Jetpack CRM. I'm like, why would you put that in Jetpack?
I did not know that.
It makes zero sense.
Yeah, you ever try to like upload or download Jetpack from a site?
It's like when Jetpack has ceased to become Jetpack.
Stephanie asks, she says, thank you. And then based on what you said, I think my problem is the way my theme displays captions. I don't like the way it looks, and we'll have to look into that. So it looks like you've given her a place to start with dealing with her issue. And that asks, post in a block, I would only need to put my main LinkedIn URL.
Yes, for I believe that is correct. I have not. So like I said, all these social media platforms are there. So if I looked for, I just haven't had. I think it's there. All right, wait. Let's go browse all. Maybe I'm just missing it. Anybody say LinkedIn? I haven't had occasion to do a LinkedIn item yet. You
should be able to do it in the search.
I was searching for LinkedIn and I didn't come up, so maybe that's not in yet. But
in there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for the embed because I feel like that's probably because I just don't see. I mean, I literally don't see LinkedIn, and it wasn't coming up in a search. I just haven't had the chance to, the opportunity just hasn't presented itself yet. But let's do embed. And I don't know what's going to happen. Let's go to LinkedIn and let's go find out.
Well, this is where you're saying be nosy.
Be nosy. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Let's find out.
There are some weird things in WordPress that you're just like, I wonder what will happen. Like, I even wrote a blog post on one. If you add categories and you comma separate the categories in a URL, it actually pulls in like those categories. Like, I didn't know that it did that.
All right, I'm gonna grab the URL and copy link to post. All right, so in theory, I have copied the link to this LinkedIn post. Let's find out what happens. I have no idea what's gonna happen here. Hit the URL right in there. Let's see what happens.
It should tell you on the front end, like right there, if it's gonna work.
Sorry, this content could not be embedded.
It's not on the allowed list, I assume. You have to there's probably a way to.
I mean, like I said, I know the way I could get around
list.
it. It's up to you. I mean, it's kind of, it's dependent upon the site that you're using. Like, is the likelihood that LinkedIn gonna go bad on you? Probably not, but you know.
It's not so much. It's not so much that. It's just it opens up, like if you allow one, if you open up one iframe, you allow all iframes.
Right.
So usually with the embeds, it's like on an allowed list. So it's like LinkedIn, it's fine, you know, or Facebook, it's fine, you know.
Right.
But if it's like xyzhacker.com,
not a good idea so much, really, right?
Yeah, you might not want to have that a script or an iframe running in your content there. So usually there's some sort of sanitation and escaping that happens in there.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that LinkedIn is not there. I'm going to actually ask tomorrow if that's coming. I'm surprised it's not in there. I'm going to actually do some research and find out if that's coming, why it's not there. I'd be curious to know. I think that's a useful item.
Yeah, it's a larger network than even some of the ones they list.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to make I'm going to definitely make some inquiries.
Cool. There is one question left. Oh no! Oh well, that was a thank you. She said. So all right, now there's one question left. I saw Oxygen Builder allows you to. Well, Kiri asks again. I saw Oxygen Builder allows you to convert to block editor so clients can modify without a page builder. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that.
I've actually never heard of Oxygen Builder before, so I have no point of reference there. And I thought I've used the only page builder I thought I hadn't used yet was Beaver Builder. I've seen it demoed and I've never used it, but I've ended up, I think, using almost every other one.
Oh, there's another one.
I suspect that most of the bigger page builders are going to build that feature in so that data can be edited either in Beaver Builder or in Gutenberg. Go back and forth.
I think it would be smart for them to at least start saving their data in a Gutenberg way.
Right.
Yep.
I think their place might still be just like a particular user interface that people are used to.
Yeah.
Versus how they store the data.
Yeah.
So if they turn it off, it still all works.
Yeah. I mean, and there are lots of other plugins that are now building their interfaces to look more like Gutenberg or be Gutenberg friendly. The one that I referenced earlier, and I've just started to use it, is the events calendar, which I know a lot of people use the events calendar, and that now has, it's basically the way you turn on Gutenberg is if you go into your settings, there's a block.
Is this the Modern Tribe one?
Yes, the Modern Tribe one.
Liquid Web now, I guess.
Yeah, now it's Liquid Web, but yeah, all you literally do is go into the settings and there's a block that comes in default checked that says, please use the classic editor. You just uncheck it and you now get to use the Gutenberg editor with it.
Yeah, Mailpoet 3 is modeled after Gutenberg. You can't use the old interface. So, and Automatic just bought that company. So Mailpoet is now an Automatic company.
Yeah, like one of the ones I have going here, this was just for a demo. One of the things we do, we happen to just coincidentally work with a bunch of food bloggers. And the most popular plugin for food bloggers is something called WP Recipe Maker. And it absolutely is Gutenberg ready in different things to let you be able to put in things. I don't know if it's going to do it right now. This is the one that's like the index card. I'd have to go in and figure out the, but I know they have a whole thing where they've put in a whole Gutenberg section. And one of the things we discovered is if you don't use kind of what they put in ahead of time, you get some wonky results on screen readers and other things too. So sometimes trying to circumvent what's there creates problems. It was a recipe calling for 3/4 of a cup of something, and the screen reader was reading it out as 3 and 4 Cuban pesos. It just doesn't know what to do with the code otherwise.
I have a question for you, Laura. And since I know that you've been kind of working in Gutenberg basically almost from its inception and giving feedback to the core team, full site editing. I know that was demoed a bit in State of the Word. I guess where it is at this point. Have you toyed with anything that's been worked on there?
I have seen it. I haven't played myself. I know that I saw, like I said, I turned on the plugin. I mean, I have a plugin going on the Sandbox site, but I had turned the plugin on to a site we were developing. I can't recall why I even turned it on. It was on for a reason temporarily, and I had forgotten to turn it off. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So then I went to go do an update to the widgets that were in the sidebar for this particular site, and I was like, what happened? And it was, I couldn't edit anything, but it was very much like that full site editing experience. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? Like, this was not the way I left it on Tuesday. What is going on? So yeah, I mean, it took me a minute to go, no, it's the plugin, turn the plugin off. And I did that. It was very halfway functional. Like it wasn't, it wouldn't let me really, it wouldn't really let me do anything. And I was like, but I could see where this was going. So in answer to your question, no, I have not yet had the opportunity to play with that full site editing experience. For people who are worried about it, I look at it this way, you know, who are making a career out of designing websites and stuff. Just because I can do a thing doesn't mean I want to do a thing. You know, there are always going to be the do-it-yourselfers, but there are always going to be the people who are very happy to pay a professional to say, this is not my wheelhouse, please go and do this for me. You know, or should I do it this way? Or I don't have the time to do this. I said before, I used to work, when Cam was talking about the school district, I used to work for the Archdiocese of Newark Schools Division, and at one point I was in charge of getting 114 SSL certificates on websites. Could I have done that? Sure. Did I want to do that? No. I paid to make it go away.
Well, I don't really want
and I think they're, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think sometimes when people are concerned about, oh my gosh, like this is coming and now I'm going to be out of a job. I don't think that's true. Just because
I think,
you know.
Go ahead. Before we start losing people, I want to point out that we do have an automatician on our call today, Ann McCarthy. Mike, could you promote her to panelist and she can just say a few things?
Sure. Hold on, let me find her. Oh, it's over. Oh, here we go. Ann McCarthy?
Yeah, Ann McCarthy. She's she works for Automatic. She's a developer relations wrangler.
So,
hey, Ann.
She's incredibly helpful too.
Hey.
Hey, Ann.
Sorry, I didn't say great things about jetpacks.
No, this is great. I super appreciate the random promotion to panelists, but
absolutely.
First of all, I've loved this, Laura. You've done an amazing job going through so many of these features. So major props. I've also been taking notes. So I can be like, and I've also run into that annoying button issue that you've.
Yeah, I have a whole video. Like Dave Ryan from the core team turned my content creator ease and video displaying what my level of angst was into developer friendly language. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to hear that feedback has gotten there. But I definitely am also going to carry back a lot of this stuff to the team. I've been trying to share in the chat as well, just so other people can follow along. But yeah, the full site editing experience, I just wanted to flag, I'm helping run like an outreach program because so much of this needs testing. And right now, the whole point of the program is that it's for people who build or are content creators. Like it's not meant for deep dive devs. It's meant for people who are just using WordPress. So I would love to have anyone on this call join in. And if I can help in any way, I'm Ann Zazu on Slack. So.
Yeah, awesome. No, that would be cool. And actually, hilariously enough, and I don't know if you hopped on at the beginning of the call, I talked about how I had a meeting with Josepha and Matt, because after State of the Word, it was like, you too can have your 15 minutes. So, you know, I signed up for my 15 minutes, and my 15 minutes was about, very specifically, I said, where do content creators fit into this ecosystem to give feedback? And I said, I do not begrudge for a second Mark Urain putting on Twitter, hey, should we do this or that? Yeah, that's great feedback. But I would say 95% of the people he's getting to answer that question are not what I call power users and people who content creator is their bread and butter. So I love that you have a feedback group there.
And that's why I'm here too. Like, that's why I'm like sitting in on this kind of stuff. So
2 things. And you wrote that just to the panelists, your Slack.
So sorry.
Zoom's got the weirdest chat.
Because I rejoined. That's why.
Yes. And number 2, just so there's no confusion, because we do have a Jersey Press Slack. That is not the one she's talking about. She's talking about the WordPress core Slack. Which is a different Slack account. But yes, in WordPress.org Slack is like, I guess just go to WordPress.org and you can find the.
Well, I think it's make. Is it make? I think it's
make.wordpress.
Chat.
Yeah.
.org.
No, I just dropped a link in there.
I thought it was chat. No, she's got it. It's make.wordpress.org chat.
So that's the Slack. While we're talking about Slack, just to. I'm going to post this in as well. If you want to join the Jersey Press Slack, which is a Slack for our community plus the other 3 New Jersey meetup groups, you can go to that link, put your email address, and it automates how you get in. Jason wrote this plugin. I don't even know how it works. I think you just put in your email address and it just adds you somehow. But so those are the 2 Slack groups. The first one is the official WordPress project group. That's where you can message Anne. The second one is for our group.
And I'll drop my email in just if people are really wanting to give feedback, or if they have any issues with getting, started the full sighting outreach program. It's open to anyone.
And yay, I will be there. I can't wait. And I'll bring some people, I'll bring some other content creators with me. We're excited to give this kind of feedback. This would be awesome.
And it's actually pretty cool because right now, one of the main things that the first call for testing is focused on is the difference between template editing versus post editing or page editing.
Sure.
So it's taking you right into that very critical dynamic where you're switching between like pretty big, at a global level, changing a template of all your posts versus editing a post in particular.
Gotcha.
So there's some pretty cool stuff coming up there that we want to make sure, the dynamic is right. And it's exciting, but it's tough.
There's some things I do with Beaver Builder and multi-site that I would absolutely love to see happen with Gutenberg. I really need to write it up because the way Beaver,
send it my way. I would love to see it.
The way that Beaver Builder does things with multi-site and being able to call template parts across sites is unbelievable. It's amazing. But what it allows me to do is I can build like a saved row or a saved module and store it on site ID 1, and then I can reference that module across any of my subsites with a short code. And it's like, I don't think Gutenberg's even thinking about that stuff right now. And
that's pretty cool.
Those are the kind of advanced full site editing things that are keeping me tied to a Beaver Builder, because I can't even consider moving to Gutenberg until it's mature enough to do those kinds of things. And right now, I think Beaver Builder is like 18 months ahead in that kind of functionality. And I'm like, I can't even consider Gutenberg because.
Are you using Beaver Builder for the New York schools?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I rebuilt all those sites in the past year, like 80 sites.
I used to work on a multi-site for UNC Chapel Hill. That's where I started, was a college student. So I know that pain of multi-sites and trying to get the configuration right. It is a huge.
Well, it's like it allows me to have like a district footer below a school footer, right? And then the district footer, nobody can touch it except the admins of the district site, right? It allows me to do content updates across all the sites,
which is brilliant. Like before,
and the same thing for like an alert banner. It's like I have an alert banner about COVID, when schools are reopening, et cetera, I have to be able to push that across all sites, and I don't want to have to create that alert on 70 different sites.
No, you want that consistent. Yeah. And you got to get that message out right away, because then the parents in school A are confused why the message is different with their kids in school B.
I build it once, and there's plugins that kind of do that, and it's like, no, I need something super custom. And so I had to build this as a custom like row in Beaver Builder. It's like Gutenberg isn't even, I don't think the Gutenberg developers are even thinking about this stuff right now, because they're still so focused on just getting full site editing working, let alone.
And there's also the permissions level. Like, I think that's the next level that's going to end up coming in, is like, how do you get the permissions right? What do you lock? And now,
and multi-site is a whole different layer. So it's like a whole different layer of thinking. Like I work almost exclusively in multi-site. So, because I'm building school district networks, I'm building school district websites. You have one main site, and you have, in New York's case, 75 subsites, right? In most districts, you have, 4 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school, right? That's at least 7 sites. I don't want to build 7 sites. I want to build one site with 6 subsites. And a lot of that stuff, it's like, I don't think the Gutenberg, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but the reading that I've been doing is I think the Gutenberg full site editor people, developers, aren't even thinking about those use cases. And I'd love to be able to.
Yeah, right now it's way more like starting really wide with the bells and whistles. So like really creating all the customization that you can think of. And then from there, kind of curating it. And I do think there's gonna be a certain point where, quite frankly, like there are gonna need to be plugins to provide a certain custom experience. So if you're creating like a marketing site and you want a certain experience, or like whatever it is, like Gutenberg will come as a default. But then if you wanna, really ramp up the options that are shown, there'll be a plugin that does that. And if you really wanna ramp it down, I think there'll be a plugin that has to provide that experience as well. And I think that's probably where we're headed, is like Gutenberg offers this default thing. And right now it's really expansive and really pretty wide, especially for the full site editing and customization. And then over time, we'll get to a more even ground design wise and UX wise before plugins come in and start playing a role where you can kind of have like a mode of interaction with your site using a plugin. But we'll see. I linked to a post in the chat that Matthias wrote that's really excellent for kind of like the latest. Particularly with site editing and this kind of like philosophy around customization. But yeah, we're not there yet for sure.
One of the big things, so I work for PMC, which is a WordPress VIP client. We have about 23 sites, including like Rolling Stone, Variety, Deadline, and we're still on Classic Editor. And I think 2 of our largest challenges is legacy code, moving that over to then using blocks. And one I think is maybe even just as daunting is training that many editors to like on day one be able to go, like, as much as the Gutenberg experience is like light years better than the classic editor. It's like the devil, sort of.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from on that too. I mean, I will say this, like, as people who do train, like clearly training is something that I frequently do. Thinking about another VIP partner, the Yikes agency out of Philly, Tracy Levesque does a lot of their training, and she's had like massive success with people training them over on Gutenberg. I will say this, as I train new people, it has taken me about 6 or 7 months, and I don't think I have it like, you never perfect something 100%. But for me, without question, I've discovered the best way for me to do it is to do that highlight, copy, paste out of a Google Doc or Word doc, and I have blown people's minds. And I do try to have it be, I was just messing around here tonight with some recipes and whatnot, just to do whatever, it was just because this was my latest iteration of this was focused on recipe bloggers. But I do try to make whatever I'm going to highlight, copy, and paste, make it very relevant to that organization. Usually what I go for is like their about page or their mission page, because that is usually loaded with like all kinds of text, what have you. And then there's all kinds of images that are then going to come in. There's probably a video that's going to come in, and you suddenly show them how to do this and their minds go like, boom. And then usually I just show somebody right after that the reusable block, and it's like they've died and gone to Disneyland. The reusable block is when people are just like, this has now changed my life.
That's
And
really
definitely,
awesome.
yeah, and
Yeah, that's a
definitely,
big
and
one.
definitely for me, it sure did. Like I said, I never have to write ticket prices and show times again. I can't tell you how happy I am about this. So yeah.
I've heard too, there was a WordCamp for Publishers session that I joined at one point, and one of the interesting things that got brought up there was like, you're gonna have to learn at some point something, whether it's a page builder or Gutenberg or whatever it is. And the sure thing is Gutenberg. So like at a certain point, like there becomes this trade-off, right? Like if it's further enough along and you have the features you can, there becomes this trade-off where it actually is worth it. But like I think for some people, as you mentioned at the beginning of the talk, Laura, like some people haven't used it since 2017. Or like there is still a lot of confusion between the Gutenberg plugin versus the core editor. Like I've had people say, I would never use Gutenberg. I'm like, do you use WordPress 5.6? Do you use WordPress 5.5? Like you're using the core, you're using Gutenberg, but like it's the way it's baked in is so, it's so hard for people to separate the two.
And Publish Press too. Thank God they renamed their blocks because they used to be called like the advanced Gutenberg blocks or something very unhelpful. Like there was a definite article that was the different. It was very not helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they renamed it. The one thing that I would say I would love for people to do is on their reusable blocks is something along the lines of like, this isn't a lot of choices up here. Like to have something be like, I think about the events calendar where it's like, change this event, change all instances of this event, just to make it more obvious what I'm changing.
Are you using Gutenberg on this site by chance? Like is the Gutenberg plugin installed or are you using the core editor? Like what's baked in?
No, this is just, this is a really old Dara theme that was,
well, the reason I bring that up is we literally just redid the reusable block design, but it's only baked into Gutenberg. But like in the next, 5.7, like there will be an update to the reusable block experience, which will be really exciting.
Yeah,
I agree. It's pretty like it's okay, but it's not exciting. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's gotten better. It used to, I think this used to say break from reusable blocks, which was not the best terminology. So yeah, for sure, huge thing. And then when you broke it from the blocks, I think it meant to, I mean, this is not like that anymore, but it meant it went bye-bye forever. And that was not what people intended. That was fun as I had to fix that a couple of times. So yeah, it definitely gets better. And I will say like, shout out to the team because like, definitely there are things that I'm like, oh, this is way better than it used to be. That's why I say to people, have that sandbox, be nosy, and every so often go in there and go, what does this do today? Oh, this is a new feature. I haven't done this yet. Push this button. What's this?
That layout feature has gotten so much better since its first inception. Like it was almost impossible to like navigate between where you're inside the column or outside the column and the blocks inside the column.
And you like it down here. I liked it up. I like the breadcrumb. Like,
right, but it was like down there. But even still, before I even noticed there's breadcrumbs trying to click through it. Like they've added more white space. It's a lot more usable. But yeah, it was I've used Gutenberg on some projects since it's came out in 5.0 and have seen it a lot easier to show people how to do stuff and do stuff myself, because even before I'm like, this is better than the classic editor, but it's still frustrating. And then now it's like, this is actually fine now. Like this is usable.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, And like I said, I went from going, you've got to be kidding me, to this is amazing, So, and actually, like I said, shout out to the core team, because I remember at WordCamp US in like 2017 in Nashville, there was that whole little demo booth that was going on where you could test it out. And, I was like doing my demo and recording it, and I'm going, yes, I have successfully completed your task. This is not how I write content. It doesn't work like this. So, and I remember halfway through, somebody came over, she goes, I heard what you're saying. Just stop. Explain to me what the problem is. And I took one of your designers or devs like down the rabbit hole of, you're telling me to do this in this order. That's not how we work. And she's like, talk to me more. And I started explaining, and she's like, oh. And
I think there's still aspects of that too. Like, I think that's one of the things I'm really excited about the outreach program is we still have those points to refine, like for sure. I've read different posts where people are saying it takes me 3 times as long if I'm using Gutenberg. It's just, there's a lot of use cases to consider, and there's a certain point that kind of feedback, and even watching you go through this, it's so helpful to kind of get a greater sense of how people use this stuff. Because some of what you're using is something that I would never do. Like I write blog posts and I blog, but that's as far as it goes. Like I'm not, I'll build sites for people, but to actually see your workflow, I think is really interesting.
Yeah. I think the biggest mind-blowing thing to people that one day is that I don't put images in until the end. Like, and it blew the person's mind that it's like, no, because I might change the content, I might do this or that, and then I'm going to rearrange where it goes. And she's like, I mean, it was just completely blew their mind. And then I added the next step up. I said, and the other thing that happens is I have put in images, but my editor might come in and change my images. And that also ended up blowing the person's mind, that like whatever your images were that you used might completely change by the time your article went live, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good call out. That's funny because I actually did the same thing.
I loved watching you do this stuff because it's so rare that I get to watch someone that actually knows how to like create content at the level that you can create it work. Because like, even though I work in WordPress all the time, I don't know where all this stuff is. I mean, because I'm just writing code all the time.
Yeah.
If I happen to have a ticket about it or a question about it, I'll find it, but I'm not actively looking for it.
No, or like I'm like, or just the fact that the info button, right? Like most people don't know that does that.
Yeah, I didn't know that did that.
Yeah.
Like especially considering, like I said, like PMC is not on Gutenberg yet, or at least not our main sites are not on Gutenberg yet. That's a 2021 project to get that going. And I'm really excited about that because I get a lot of tasks where we still have to, just do stuff in templates and do stuff in short codes. And I'm just like, I get the task and I look at the layout. I'm like, if this was a block editor, this would be so much easier to do than what this is. They're asking for like a hub page. I'm like, this could just be blocks. This could just be blocks and all this nonsense I got to deal with still. Of the classic editor. And it's amazing when you go from the classic editor to Gutenberg and you see night and day. It's like, this looks so dated, the classic editor now, like really slow and just doesn't look nice anymore. Like Gutenberg looks so much nicer to me.
Yeah.
Cool. One last one, King. To answer your question, Carrie, yes, Laura said she's going to provide the slides. You think you might be able to host that on a site? You can just send us the link.
I usually just throw my stuff up on SlideShare. So sweet. I'll do that in the morning. I caught, as I was going through, as these things go, I caught 1 or 2 typos as I was going through. So I'm going to clean up a couple of those typos and then I'll put it up in the morning. And I'll also send you links to a couple of those additional things that I referenced, just so folks have those additional links. I know people wanted to know the sites where I was demoing some of the content. I'll just give you some of those sites too, so you can kind of see what that functionality is.
And some of those third-party blocks were plugins. Do you think you could provide the links to the plugins?
Yeah, I think they're all linked in the slides where I referenced them.
Okay,
but yeah. I think I hooked everything up to the plugin site, either their own website, or they all have a free version and a paid version. You can get the free version each time right out of the plugin repo, and then the paid version, if you want more bells and whistles, you got to go off to their own site. So I linked to that as well.
Got it. Cool. All right. That's awesome.
I want to encourage everyone, if you have specific use cases or questions or ideas for Gutenberg and you want to reach out to somebody, Automatic, Anne is your person.
Please, seriously.
She will take your praises, concerns, criticisms, and filter them up to the right people who are working on the Gutenberg core development. She's the person you should be talking to. Her contact information
it'll be a nice thing to me too. Like, I think sometimes people see it as like bugging people, and it's not. It's actually doing a really big kindness to give feedback. So I appreciate
you're helping the project, you're helping Gutenberg, you're helping WordPress as a whole by providing that kind of feedback, especially if you have very unique use cases that the development teams have not considered. And especially in my case, I have very specific use cases.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they're not thinking about, because it's a very specialized kind of stuff that I'm working with. So And that pertains to every industry. Like if you're a domain expert in something like building lawyer websites or building, there's that guy here in New Jersey does nothing but builds dentist websites. That's all he does. Just dentist websites. What's that guy's name?
That is super interesting.
He's in Short Hills. What? David wrote David something. David.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that, or he was. I think he came to one of our meetups.
Yeah, but the team. I would say that, I mean, the core team has been like really good with feedback too. Like I think about, I was working on the WordCamp US team. I mean, there's like 70 people on that team, and at one point I needed a thing, and I went over to Mel Choice, and I was like, Mel, could this be darker? I'm having trouble seeing this, and she's like, oh yeah, that is a contrast error, and I literally thought this would happen, you know. When it happened, I'm going, my God, I say it here, it comes out there. I'm you know, it was just, it happened so quickly, you know, and she's like, yeah, that's a good point. You're right. I can't read that either. So the team has been like really good, I think, at just, you know, taking feedback for whoever brings it along.